Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Hey everybody, welcome back for another episode of Save As Ability. Today we're talking about, and we're going to explore various types of physical disabilities. You know, as I prepare for the show each week, I go on and look at Google and YouTube and, things that people are searching for, and comments from people who watch the show, who send me messages on different social media platforms and things like that. And one of the clarifications that I think we need to make here is about these types of physical disabilities. It's often searched on Google and YouTube, and I think that's a good thing. People trying to figure out disability so that they can understand it. That's a good thing. We promote that. We want education. We want people to be breaking down ignorance and breaking down barriers that way. So one of the things I think we're going to talk about today is we're going to explore the various types of physical disabilities and talk about all of the very finite things. And so, if you like policy, this one's for you. But really, this encompasses millions of people throughout America, right? So, all right, let's get started. Traditionally, a large part of the disability community, like when it was founding, if you see my symbol over there, that symbol, right? It was represented by people with disabilities, particularly mobility and physical disabilities, right? The nothing about us without us movement. Many of those individuals were in wheelchairs and had significant physical disabilities. So that, in a way, became the archetypal metaphor for a big part of the early disability movement that's been, the past 40, 50 years, decades, whatever. So really then let's start at the beginning. Like, how do we define physical disabilities, right? Because if we're talking about disability, right, well, what about physical disabilities, right? So we first have to decide which definition, and we've had episodes about this, as you know, which definition of disability are we going to use? So just to be clear, I don't think there is an exhaustive list. Like the ADA is explicit on that, and all the ADA trainings you'll get out there and the training that I got and that I give is that there is no exhaustive list of disabilities. There's not meant to be, right? So I think that's a good thing. But then how do you conceptualize it for people who don't know much about disabilities when they're asking, well, what about these physical disabilities? So I've put something together here that I think can help shed light on the situation. So generally, physical disabilities are conditions that significantly impact a person's mobility, their dexterity, or some combination of that, like their stamina, some combination of that. So, and these disabilities, by the way, they can be congenital, they can be, from birth, it could be acquired through an injury or an illness or, some other progressive disease or something, right? So a person with a physical disability is typically defined as somebody who has a physical condition that significantly impairs their ability to perform certain activities or interact with their environment, all right? So that's a little bit out of some of the regulations that I was looking at from different agencies and things like that, so I kind of melded it all together. So to me, this definition can vary depending upon the source and context. And, again, I don't think the goal is to create some exhaustive list. So, but let's look at some publicly available data, okay? Let's start with the Social Security Administration. So SSA defines a disability as the inability to engage in a substantial gainful activity due to a medically determinable physical or mental impairment that has lasted or is expected to last at least 12 months. And for a physical disability specifically, the SSA considers conditions that affect a person's physical capacity to function, such as musculoskeletal issues, neurological disorders, respiratory disorders, or cardiovascular conditions. That's right out of the POMS manual, the Social Security Administration, okay? So now, let's compare and contrast that with the ADA, which is really meant to make sure people with disabilities aren't discriminated against. It's civil rights law, as opposed to a benefit program. So there it's, and we've been over this, but it's a person with a disability is someone who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. And the major life activities include functions such as walking, talking, seeing, hearing, performing manual tasks. And again, it's a three-pronged definition. So that's also having a record of or being regarded as. All right. So you see that definition's a little different, and it's probably broader because we want to include more people to be protected and not be discriminated against. All right. Now let's go further. Let's talk about the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC. They define disability in a different way, and that's any condition or mind of the body or mind impairment that makes it more difficult for the person with the condition to do certain activities. And they specifically talk about this includes physical impairments that may affect mobility, dexterity, or physical stamina. So now that's somewhat similar to what SSA had in there, okay? So again, I'm not quizzing you on the definitions. I'm giving you these to give you an understanding that these physical disabilities are not any one set. It's not one list. All right. And so the way it's defined is very much leads you to determine if the person has a physical disability or some other prevalence type of disability. To complicate things even further, the way we measure it and the data that's collected, most of the data anyways, that's collected through the American Community Survey, and through, there's three main data points. The American Community Survey, all collected by the Census Bureau. Questions, and that is the American Community Survey, the Survey of Income and Program Participation, and the Current Population Survey. All right, all three surveys ask about 6 different disability types: hearing difficulty, vision difficulty, cognitive difficulty, ambulatory difficulty, self-care difficulty, and independent living difficulty. Well, most of those can also be considered the physical disability, right? So again, just to really kind of hammer the point home here that when we're talking about physical disabilities, that's a really large amount of people with disabilities. That includes mobility impairments, musculoskeletal conditions. That could include neurological. It could include sensory, chronic health conditions. All of those could be considered physical disabilities. Okay, so I don't know if this is helping or confusing more people, but, talking about physical disabilities, I would actually try to get people to talk about one of the prevalence types of disabilities, because that's really where we have some data and we can start to kind of fine tune what it is we're talking about in terms of policy, right? Now, societally wise, if you want to talk about it because you're trying to be more educated, or you're trying to break down barriers, you're trying to learn from people with disabilities, or, you have a loved one or a neighbor or somebody who you want to be able to relate to. Okay, you're right. I got it. Physical disabilities. We've just outlined many of the things here, but, the core things are the same. We want to make it people first. We want to treat people with dignity and fairness. We just had an episode on the 3 keys. Matter of fact, go back and watch it. So it's all about including people with disabilities in all aspects of life, providing them access to opportunities to be independent and self-determined. So that's really the goal. That's what we're trying to do here. We're positive here at Save Visibility. So again, through some research, this came up. If you're interested in topics, let us know. Put it in the chat. Send us a message. You know how to get in touch with us. But trying to break down barriers here, trying to promote inclusion, access and opportunities for people with disabilities. I'm fired up as usual. David D'Arcangelo, Save Visibility. Hope to see you next time. And I hope you have a great day. For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save As Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save As Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #TheNewRadio. Again, my name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.